Resume recording. Yeah, so I just want to introduce you to Ruth and Emma as two of the leaders in our organisation. They are really different in their personalities from each other, and both of them are very successful recruiters. They have a wealth of experience with Neil Judd Remedies Organic, and what I thought would be a good idea is to draw on their experience in the various elements of introducing people to Neil Judd Remedies, and let them give you their top tips on how they kind of do the process of introducing people. So without further ado, what I'm going to ask them to do is to share and just explain a little bit about their top tips of why they recruit. We're going to whisk through this, and then Ruth is going to kick us off with the first section of the process. So pens and papers at the ready. And whose is the first section? I've forgotten. Whose is the first few bullet points? Ruth or Emma? If you unmute yourselves, or I can do it. Let's just unmute.
It's mine, that first section.
Okay, Ruth, do you want to add anything?
So, yes, thank you very much. And yes, it's exciting to be here tonight and to share what I have learned from all the other fabulous leaders that have talked about this subject. So why I recruit at all is because I love the idea of having a network of people around me who share the same values and interests. And also, for me personally, it's rewarding to see where this goes or doesn't go. It's that sense of adventure that appeals to me, in just starting something and creating and see what happens with it. It also allows me to use skills that I've developed in other areas of my life and to develop new skills. It gives me some extra income, and I love being part of the leader community. And my personal passion is to educate people on natural health and well-being, and I see this as a channel through which I can do that. And the more people I recruit and the more they spread the news, the more that education message gets out. So those are some of the reasons that I recruit.
Awesome, thank you, Ruth. And Emma, to add to yours.
So it goes without saying that everything that Ruth has already just said, I would have the same sentiment. And I think on the sort of, I guess maybe in practical terms, if you want a longer term income that has no ceiling, then team building is the way, because you only have so much time in your week to sell products. So there's that you know, you could be working in a job for 20 years and there'll probably be a limit to how much money you can earn from your employer. But with direct sales, there is no limit. It's really up to you. And as I've put on the little bullet point, to have no income ceiling is exactly what I'm saying. It's you set your vision, the sky's the limit. You can go as far as you go. There's no one there to stop you apart from yourself. And actually, I really want people to have the same opportunity that I did. Direct sales has absolutely changed my life. And I still get excited every time a new person joins, because I see that potential come into the team. And I want to have that opportunity to share this amazing team that we're part of, and hope that they will grasp it and run with it and love it as much as I do. And it really excites me, it really does. So
awesome.
Yeah, I hope that has covered, and I'm sure you've got other reasons, Sean, why you recruit as well. But
well, I think actually they're all covered there. I think the only one that I would add is actually being able to share the things like you guys are doing tonight, share the things that I've learned and pass them on. There's an element of pay it forward. So if you're brand new as a consultant, you might think, well, what have I got to teach somebody? But actually you're already several steps ahead of the people that you will introduce. And there's that element of being able to pass on what you've learned, but also learn from a different perspective from each other. So if you're brand new and you haven't recruited anybody yet, this is the very best time to start introducing people, because what you spot in the system or the skills that you learn will be different from the person that you recruit. And you know, if neither of you really know very much, you just learn together, but you have the benefit of somebody else's perspective. And I'm sure that this evening, those of you who are experienced recruiters, or you really feel like you're beginning to get going with recruiting, there'll be some details in what Ruth and Emma share that fine-tune your skills. And often it's the small things that we just adjust a tiny bit that make a big difference to the end result. So as somebody said in the chat earlier, you know, actually, how do I close the deal? How do I get the decision? Or it might be the detail of, I don't really know where to find these people. Once I've found them, then I'm off. You see, it's a small element of the process. And so hopefully tonight you'll be able to get some perspective from Ruth and Emma in their top tips on how to do this. So what we've done is we've broken the recruiting process down into 4 stages. And what I've sort of asked Emma and Ruth to do is to share one particular stage at a time. So Ruth's going to kick us off in a minute with just how she generally advertises recruitment, and then Emma is going to give her perspective on the same subject, and then we'll move on to the next section. And what we'll do is encourage you, please, if you've got questions, to put them into the chat. If we have time, we will answer them as we go. Probably more likely is we'll allow those of you who want to stay on at the end. So we've got all the information in, and then you can ask questions. We can answer some questions at the end. So Ruth, over to you.
So getting the message out there, I was always taught that at every event, whether that's a party or a workshop or at a fair, to promote the 3 opportunities that people have to join us, to host for us, or to shop. And so I will always have, see a recruiting poster, can you see that?
Yeah.
On my display, on my tabletop display. It may not be A4. If it's a remote event or a virtual event, I find I have to go to A5 size, but I will always have a poster and an image about recruiting at an event. And I will always have an information pack available. And that can take several forms. That might be something in a clear cello pack. It might be something in an envelope, or it might be something in a little bag, and it will be on my table or in my somewhere visible that people can be curious and ask about. I tend to make up 2 kinds of them for each event. I will have one that's targeted to people like myself who aren't a therapist or a beautician or a practitioner of any kind, and one that is targeted to more to therapists, for want of a better word. And in it, I will have a selection of things, some samples, maybe a tea bag, a little card that gives the reasons that people join us. I will include this leaflet that's available to purchase in Business Tools, which is called Grow Your Own Business with NYRO Organic. I might include one of the recruiting posters that are available to buy in the NYR shop. Some information about, similar information but in a different format, why you would join and what NYR offers, and just some questions. Usually a mini brochure, a copy of the current kit items out of downloads. We have 2 kits at the minute, so there's 2 copies in there. I always include the success start, current success start. I'll tell you why in a minute. And I always include the host leaflet. And for the therapists, I include the skin consultation document, I also include that in the other pack. The only difference really in the non-therapist pack is the postcards, because there are different postcards targeted to different groups. And the reason I include the host literature is to let people see that the company do actually produce a lot of material that help us to run our business, give them an idea of how they run the business. And the skincare one for beauticians and therapists is really useful, but also for people like me who joined, this is really helpful for me personally and for me to help my customers. I include the Success Start information because all of this information is a tool for me to talk about something that's important in the recruiting process. And Success Start is one of the things that I want to mention when people are interested in joining. So that's the sort of information I include and have when I'm thinking about information that people might need and promoting the opportunity to join. Next point, Shan.
Yeah.
Yeah, socially, I tend to talk about what I do in social context. So if I meet someone and they ask how I am, I might say something like, oh yeah, I'm well, thanks, I've been busy. We had a launch last week of new products in my business. But I don't tell them what that is. And of course they will say, oh, what's that? What do you do? And then I get to talk about my business. So they get to know what I do. I post regularly in social media, not just when there's a recruitment campaign, and quite often I target the message to particular groups. So I might have a post when I'm out walking my dog of me and the dog having a nice time, and that might turn into a post that says I love having the flexibility in my job to go out when it's sunny and take time during the day. Or it might be something that I target to therapists, offering the opportunity to have organic products in their business. And I don't just do that during a campaign. And I don't usually post the details of a kit or anything like that. It's usually a more subtle message to try and get people interested in talking about what the detail is. I do get referrals from people who know that I work with Needs Yard Remedies and that I do recruit people. And sometimes people will contact me and say, oh, I was speaking to so-and-so and they told me that I might be able to join as a consultant. Is that right? And also as a leader, it's one of the perks of being a leader that sometimes if people are interested or join the business without sponsor or not registered to anyone, they get referred to the nearest leader to their postcode address. Yeah, I use our logo bags and have products with me when I'm out and about and information, so that if people stop and chat about it, I can talk about the opportunities. And this is the what not to do section. What I would say is be proactive with people that you spot, but they don't yet know it. I have this year had the experience of 4 people whom I had spotted through social media and through my social networks, who I thought, you know, Needs Yard could be a really good fit for them. But for one reason or another, I ruled them out. One young woman has, 3 preschoolers, including twins or toddlers. She already has a craft business. And I thought, oh no, there's no way the time's right for her. And the next thing I see, she's registered with somebody else as a Needs Yard consultant. I thought, never make an assumption like that again. Another person who I thought, she might be interested. And I called her up one day. She had shopped on my website. I called her up one day to say, just wondering, would you consider this opportunity? You know what, Ruth? I had just registered with Norwex 2 days ago, and I had missed the opportunity. And I have two more of those examples, which I'll not give you now, but the moral of the story is don't make any assumption about people's interest or ability to join our business. And if you think, or even if you don't think that it's a good fit for them, at least let them make the decision and not you.
Amazing. Thank you, Ruth. So guys, put your light on moments, the things you're going to change, your, oh my goodness, aha moments into the chat. And I'm going to ask Emma to add her perspective to how she generally advertises with her business.
Okay, so thank you, Ruth. That was such an amazing start. I'm feeling really inspired already just by listening to you. So yeah, I would say, especially if you've not recruited before, and it can be a little bit daunting, I have to say, I was a slow starter. I naturally sell, and I was so focused on the products. I just kind of thought, how are people doing this? It just seemed a mystery. And once I stopped worrying about it, and then just thought, you know what, I'll just start with the obvious ones. So I asked everyone I could think of who I knew, and actually some of them joined, much to my surprise. And it kind of went from there, because once you've got one, then it builds your confidence. So, oh, actually, I can do this. And then you just start building on your list. So you probably heard of Frank List, and it will get mentioned again, so I'm not going to spend time on that now, but you've got to keep building those lists of people you meet everywhere you go, and you just want to just find ways to have conversations, basically, speak to people all of the time, and you know, start off with friends because that's familiar, but some people are better kept as friends, so don't be a pest. But over the 8 years I've been a consultant, pretty much most of my family at some point have joined, and most of them are just shoppers. Some of them do party, but they are brilliant at promoting it for me. So if you've got supportive friends and family around you that you think will be interested, I've got one member of my family who has not got the time of day for Neil's Yard. I still find to this day really odd, but it's my brother, he's my brother, he can stay as my brother. So, you know, you kind of need to get that vibe as well, that sometimes people really just are not interested, even if you wonder why the hell they're not. But keep speaking to people all the time, because you know, and actually if you don't know this, you need to get a thick skin. Most people's default first response is, no, I couldn't do that, because often they don't understand what it is you're asking them to do. So be prepared for the no's, but still keep talking to people, because the more people you talk to, and also it gives them a chance to get to know you, and you get to know them a little bit over time when they start to understand what it is we're doing or what you're doing. I bet some of them will join. And I've had people that 6 years down the line have said, I'm ready now, and I'm like, yay, I knew they'd join one day. So I do go for more of a softly approach, because that's just my personality. But as Sian said, both Ruth and I have very different approaches, but actually we're both quite good at recruiting. So what I'm trying to get there is that there's no sort of set rule, because you will find your own way of talking to people, communicating with people. You'll find your own style. So yeah, but just remember that when people say no, it's not always no forever. So what you're doing is planting those seeds, putting that idea into their head that you think they'd be good at this. And often people don't think they'll be good at it. They think they have to be trained in some special magic to be able to do direct sales. But the fact is, anyone can do it. And you know that once people are in, they get all the training and the support. So plant those seeds, stay connected, and when those people are ready, they will know that you're there to support them, and hopefully they will still come to you. But as Ruth said, if you don't stay connected, they're very likely to go and join down the road with someone else, or even worse, another company. And you know, I've had people who I'm thinking are not interested at all and not paying any attention. They're watching. So they'll be watching what you're doing. They'll be wanting to see, how are you progressing? How is that business going for you? Because they might just need that little bit of extra courage, or to see, oh, actually they're doing really well, so there is something in this business. And yeah, okay, maybe I will join after all. And people quite often say to me, oh, I've been watching you on Facebook. I'm like, really? You never comment, you never like anything. So I've got no idea, but then I'll actually meet them and go, oh yeah, I've seen you. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're that woman, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, actually I am. So it's like, you can feel like you're putting stuff out there onto deaf ears, but you're not. And just be consistent, keep going, and be very careful, though, that as has come up, don't fixate on one person, because that's the other thing that I got caught into very early on, was that I was so desperate for a certain person to join, because I just thought they were going to be brilliant and I wanted to work with them. I wanted them on the team, that while I was fixating on that person, 5 more were walking past. And I hadn't even noticed them, because all my attention was over here on this one person that I just thought was going to be brilliant and was going to change my business. But actually, if they don't say yes straight away, you're just wasting your time, because as long as you're keeping connected over time, I've written lots of notes down, they'll come when they're ready. And if they don't, well, you haven't wasted your time just putting all your energy into that person. So I did a lot of partying when I first joined. As I said, my natural thing is as a seller. I love selling the products, and I did recruit all my hosts pretty much. And then I'm like, what am I going to do now? Who's going to join my business now? So I learned to do events. However, if you just sign up all your hosts, don't assume that they're going to do the business the way you do. You need to stay really connected to them, just as you would any other new joiner that you've met anywhere else, because you've already made a connection to all those customers that you would have met probably in that party where you met that host. They don't always do the follow-up, and you could lose a whole raft of customers that you had. So I don't want to confuse you there, but by saying, but be careful if they join, you want to get it really clear that they're joining and they are going to do the business. Because if they're just joining because they've decided they want to be a shopper, they're not going to sell to all those customers who are in that party. So make it really clear with them that if they're just joining because they want to be a shopper, that you can still connect with their friends that were the customers. They might change their mind later, and then, but you work that out because you would have built up that relationship. But that did happen to me a few times where the host joined, so I assumed, oh great, they're just going to carry on and keep selling to all their friends, and it will expand, and they didn't. And then I was 10 potential other joiners and customers in that room that I'd lost. So don't fixate on it, but it really goes down to the conversations with people when they join of what they want and how that's going to work. And be really generous when you're doing events and sending out catalogues and samples to people. As Ruth said, she will always send out the mini catalogue samples, all that information. I've, during lockdown, had people contact me online, and I've sent them a full-size catalogue, and I've stuck the samples in the catalogue, so they need to go through it to find the samples, and I've put all the other information as well, and I've had people join because I've done that. So if someone's actually showing what you feel is some genuine interest, be generous with those big catalogues as well. Because they see your shop front, that is going to be their shop front as well, and they understand the full extent of what's available to them if they're interested in product. Don't get fixated on the products, because obviously we're selling them the opportunity and they need to make the opportunity work for them. But don't have a lovely neat pile of catalogues at home. You need to give them out. And as I was saying with the hosts, you need to have a plan on how you will stay in touch, because you probably find, especially because we're now in this virtual world, some people are using text, some are using WhatsApp, some are using Messenger, some like the voice, Zoom as we are now because they like the face-to-face. There may be more opportunities where we can actually meet out and about now, but actually email, all those different ways of being in contact. find out from the people you meet what they're happy to have from you. Do they want you on, so a lot of people say, well, put me on the newsletter. Others go, no, I don't want to be on your newsletter, but it's fine to text me. So once you've got that permission, make sure you do it. Don't just write them off because they haven't reacted in the way that you want the first time you talk to them. But then they're expecting to hear from you. They're not surprised when they get a text or an email, that kind of thing. So yeah, so the other thing with the networking, I like meeting people and chatting to people, and I think most people in direct selling do. That's, you know, it's a people's business. And over the years, I've joined lots of different networking groups. Some of them are quite a nightmare, I have to say. Some of them have been really fruitful, but I would say be discerning. Don't just join every group that comes your way. You won't be able to manage it all anyway. But actually, some of them I found quite cliquey. So I'd be spending my time and actually not really talking to anyone because people just talked to who they knew. I found the Facebook groups where I can interact and have proper conversation have been really fruitful. And again, it's finding the ones that are based around something that you're interested in. So whether it's because you're a therapist or nutrition or sport or just other direct sellers, it actually really doesn't matter. But where they're active in the group and they're striking up conversation, the one down here locally that's worked really well, and it's all over the country, so could you look up your local one, is MEBA, which is Mums in Business. And they seem very well structured, are very set posts that encourage you to join in. So you're not always talking about Neil's Yard, you're literally interacting with people. And the more active ones that I've joined, people have then private messaged me because of what I've been putting on, just generally what I do. And they're getting a feel for who you are as a person. So don't just go into groups and go, hey, I'm selling this, oh, I've got that, because that doesn't really go down very well. You've got to spend a bit of time so people get used to you and get to know you and see what you're about. So I guess we're on to Ruth.
I think you're starting
Was
this
that me again?
Yeah. So the second section, rather than just advertising and the general kind of throwing the net out there and seeing what you catch, you've actually got somebody who's interested. So what happens now?
Is that me again?
Yeah, it is. Emma, this is your list. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I've talked loads already. So yeah, just like I mentioned, I do use the big catalogues if I meet someone that's interested, and I will put samples. I will put all the information in there that Ruth has already mentioned. I like to do a handwritten note. So the little postcards that we have available to us are perfect for that. And I just put something that, because I try and glean information out of the person before I send it. So I'll have tried to find out from them what sparked their interest and why they wanted to join anyway. So that I try in that note to relate it back to what they've already told me. So it shows that I'm interested. It shows that I'm trying to be a problem solver for them. So whatever it is they're saying, whether it's a therapist and they want products or someone just wants to earn more money or whatever it is, I'll try and relate it back. So it's a personal message saying, you know, it was lovely talking to you, and I hope, you know, let me know how you find what I've sent you, and, you know, I'll call you in a few days to see how you get on. But I kind of really try and tailor it to what I've already found out of what they are, has spiked their interest. So yeah, so I think really Ruth had such a great package there that she gives out events. I would put the same, and sometimes I'll put the little book of NYR Organic in there as well, because you will find people that don't actually know much about the company. Because we're familiar with it, we assume everybody knows what it's about. And I think people are sometimes driven by the fact that it's ethical, not tested on animals. Thank you, Ruth. That it's family owned, that it's UK, that the products are made in this country. They may have just come across the lovely blue bottles and know they like the products, but all the ethics behind it. So I think that's really useful information. And we also have a letter, Ruth showed it in the format of the little A5. How do I join? what's expected of me, what do I expect of you as a consultant, and what happens if I want to leave? Because often people are afraid that they're going to sign themselves up and it's like they're signing their life away. So it's sort of showing people how simple it is to join. And there we have, I sort of jumped ahead of the notes, but you really want to try and tailor it, because let's face it, everyone on this call joined for different reasons, and everybody was probably told, yeah, you can do that, because basically you can do it as long as you're not stocking a shop. We're just sharing products and sharing things that we love and sharing an opportunity that we love. But for some people, they don't understand how that will fit into their life. So by listening to what they want, then we can say, yeah, okay, based on what you've told me, this is how this company can work for you. And again, there will be clues in the conversation. So really listen, because there's another thing early on. I've learned so much over the 8 years that I was so excited about that someone wanted to join or was thinking about joining, that I almost Tigger bounced them into signing up, because my excitement, they got excited and they're like, yeah, I'll do it then. But then they joined and they didn't really know why they joined. And also what I found was that sometimes, because of my excitement, I'd talk so much, I'd see them glaze over, and I'd totally lost them because they'd got information overload. So it's really good to try and listen more than you speak, and almost feed back what you're hearing so you've understood what it is that they're wanting. So again, I would try and listen without talking too much, give them catalogues and samples, say, go away, have a look at this. You'll get a replicated website, it's free. That's a really good point to make, that it's a free website, because not all companies give it free, some charge. And if you encourage people to, and if you haven't done it yourselves, go and explore your replicated website. There is so much information about the company on there, the ingredients, the ethics, obviously the products, but there's so much more, and I think it often gets overlooked. I like going down through every last detail and researching what it is I'm going to be part of. So encourage people to look beyond the catalogue and the bigger picture of the replicated website, and remind them that they will have one the same. So stay connected, because sometimes people go away and it just really isn't the right time for them, genuinely isn't the right time. But they need to know that you're still going to be there. They may just decide to stay as a host for now. They may decide, actually, I'm just going to be a customer. But don't write them off because they've said, no, I don't want to do it at the moment. They're not saying, no, I don't like you. They're just saying, this isn't the right thing for me right now. But they already like the product. They already probably have hosted. They've shown some interest. So keep connected and agree with them the best way that that's going to be, and so that they know that you're still there when they're ready. And I've said that to people before. It's fine. I'll still be here. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here waiting when you're ready. Come and let me know. And they do. But verbally tell them that.
Emma, thank you so much. That's amazing. Right, so over to Ruth for the same section. Someone's interested. Obviously a lot of it will be the same, Ruth, but you've got some points to add.
Yeah, it's really very much the same. Basically, I connect with the person. I agree a time that we can have a follow-up conversation about it, because usually at an event there isn't time for the detail, and I try not to launch into that at an event. So I usually agree a next day or the next couple of days time and date to have a chat to them. And I suppose for me, this was a bit of an eye-opener. Recruiting is not a I do this today job. It is a process of a series, usually a series of engagements or contacts with the person. And there are lots of little decisions that they make through that process. And I suppose at the first off, when they're interested, I aim to what I call the reasons and the seasons. That people can join us at different times in their life for different lengths of time and for multitudes of different reasons. So some people might just join to sell at the peak season. other people will join for a lifetime. Some people join at a season in their life. I joined when I took early retirement. Some people, lots of people join when they've young children or they've got other commitments. And I try to have that conversation to let people know that this is a very flexible opportunity and it's worth exploring what it could be for them. And that's what we would do in the follow-up call.
Awesome. Yeah, and just a little bit of background to pick up on what Ruth was saying there. We've got this Rose starter kit offer going on at the moment, and for those of you for whom this is the first summer, it's quite usual that we have a recruitment campaign in the summer because we're heading into the best selling month of the year, and I think we're going to knock the spots off previous years on that this year, because virtual shopping is going to be the way people go for Christmas. It's not going to be high street shopping, I don't think, this year, for various obvious reasons. But actually, what's the danger potentially of recruiting somebody at this time is that you assume that they're joining for the best few months of the year. And actually, I was having a conversation with someone the other day for whom now is the right time, but it's nothing to do with the best months of the year. It's to do with a much bigger picture. So one of the things that I think has really stood out as I've listened to Ruth and Emma is how much listening and information receiving they do, and that is balanced with the information that they give and the amount that they talk. They've both emphasised the fact that it's important to listen and look for clues and receive information. So that's, I think, a really important one for the dynamic of this particular time of year, that we don't make any assumptions. We don't, as Emma said, bounce people with our own enthusiasm of the excitement of the run to Christmas and assume that that's the reason that they're joining. And as Ruth just referred to a season there, that season may not be long enough for them. They may not be joining for the next few months, they might be joining for a much bigger reason. But you can't possibly guess, you have to ask. So keep your light on moments coming up in the chat, and we'll carry on into the next section. So follow-up conversation, Ruth,
Yeah.
is you to start with, isn't it?
So I love these conversations, always on a one-to-one, and I will start off by asking questions about what has attracted them to explore this opportunity. And this is where I really listen. And then from then on in the conversation, I will focus on that thing to start with. So if they say they're interested in something they can do at home around the kids, well, then that's what I talk about and how this would work. If they say they're looking for products to use in their reflexology business, then I talk about how this would work in a reflexology business. And even before I talk about how it might work, I will ask them lots of questions about what they currently use, if they're at home with the kids, why is it important to have something else to do if they've not got enough to do? And usually they will give a good reason why they want something else. And those things really help me know how to pitch the recruiting opportunity in a way that will appeal to them. And that's just done as a conversation. Quite often, I will preface what I'm saying by, like, you really need to help me here to understand what it is you're trying, what you would like from this, so that I can see if the needle showered opportunity is going to be a fit for you. And that enables us to have that more open conversation about what they're looking for and their current circumstances. Sometimes people aren't able to do that. Sometimes I'll get someone on the phone, I'll phone them and they've been maybe referred to me, or when I ask them, they'll give a one-liner, or they'll say, well, what's this about? What does this offer me? And instead of saying what I think it can offer or assuming, I will list the gambit of reasons that people join the business. So I use this little card, and that's the hosting one, the party one is in here, joining one. So I would say something like, well, yeah, that's a really good question. Or the way I like to start off by describing it is the reasons that people join us, because they join us for all kinds of different reasons. Some join us because they love the brand and the products and they just want more of them. Some join us because they want to meet new people, or they want to run it alongside another business, or they're interested in just flexible working. Some people are looking for a new challenge. And invariably, before I get to the end of the list, the person on the other end of the phone will say, well, yeah, that's what it would be for me. That's why I would be interested in it. And then I've got my conversation piece. Well, tell me more about that. Why does that interest you? And then they're able to explain a bit more to me about what it is they're after. And of course, I attend a lot of the company or the team training, and I listen very carefully to the stories of the other leaders and consultants. So when somebody says to me, somebody who's interested in joining, that they're a reflexologist and they would like to use the products and have products to retail, I said, oh, that's really interesting. I have a colleague called Claire, and she's a reflexologist in the business, and actually she has been able to maintain an income by retailing these products during lockdown, because I picked that up in training, me personally. So I have lists of stories for different kinds of opportunities. So I know that Cressy is a mobile beautician and works her business around 3 children. And I use those stories in the conversations. After we've talked and they've asked all the questions that they want and I've understood where they're coming from, I will ask questions to clarify and summarize what I think I've understood they want.
Sorry, Ruth, I was typing in the chat. There you go.
Yes, listen.
Well, actually, there it is. I just said there's a lot of listening. And here's your next point.
Listening. It's so much easier when you just listen and feedback. And now on to, I think it's Tanya's question. How to actually close the conversation and find out. So I am pretty direct, as most of you who know me know. So if we get to this point in the conversation where I think I've answered all the questions and they're not asking anymore, I'll say things like, how close do you think you are to making a decision on this? And they will either say, well, actually, yeah, I think that's okay. I think, yeah, what do I need to do next? Bingo. Or they will say, well, I want to think about that over the weekend. Or I want to think about that for a few days. And I will say something like, well, it sounds to me like we've covered all the questions that you raised. And unless I'm really missing something, this does seem like a good fit for you and what you're looking for. So when you're ready, I'll be very happy to support you to register. And stop and see what they say. And it's only at that point, generally, when they have expressed their readiness or their near readiness to join, generally that the conversation about the kit comes up. Sometimes if we have a choice of kit like now, I will say something like, at the minute we have a choice of kit, have you thought which kit would be most suitable for you? And have a conversation around the kit.
Ruth, can you just expand how you explain the value of the 2 kits? You know, how do you persuade them, for instance, that if which kit would be better for them without putting words in your mouth?
It depends on what they want, what they've told me they want. If they are somebody who wants to be demoing facials and doing parties virtually or in person, then I will explain the benefit of having the £95 kit, because it has a mask and an exfoliator in it, so they can do a more extensive facial demo or different things. If, like someone who joined last week, is a reflexologist and sees herself primarily using products and buying products to treat people's feet under retail related products, she was quite happy with the mini kit, and I wasn't going to push that she shouldn't have the mini kit. So it's really very much related to what the person sees they're going to do.
Perfect. And I think sometimes it's okay to say to somebody, if £95 is not prohibitive for you, then obviously you're going to have more products to launch with in that kit. So sometimes it comes down to cost. And I think when I first started recruiting, I would often say, oh, and you can have a cheaper one for £60 at the moment, and almost kind of downsell. But I've had so many people join the team, not just under me, but under lots of others, who wish that they'd been given the choice. And I think it's right to give people the option and explain the benefits of both, isn't it, in the way that you've just described. Let's not assume, guys, that they want a bargain, because there are more products in this first one. And the other thing that strikes me in what you've just said, Ruth, is know the contents of the kit, know the benefits of one over the other. So the fact that you've looked at the contents and kind of considered why the £95 kit would be better for someone doing facials. We need to know our product, and that includes our kits.
I could, when we're talking about the kit, I could say now here the bit, because sometimes it does get said at this stage. People ask things like, can I sell the kit? You know, people have no idea that the kit is constructed for very particular reasons, and I will explain that the kits are put together for the purpose of demonstrating and testing the different ranges and the different products and the different types of product that we provide. And that's a bit of an eye-opener to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do explain it at this stage when they're making their choice, but I definitely explain it to the new joiners, why they've got their kit, why their kit is what it is and what to do with it.
That's great. Thank you very much. Oh, that's a little funny one sitting there on its own. Emma, this is your list. I'm sorry, I seem to have got the animation a bit odd in that one. We'll come to that one last when you've done the others.
Yeah, so I would, assuming that I've sent out the catalogue with the sample stock in it, so they've had to go through the catalogue to find them and they've read the little note, then I'm hoping that we're having this following up call. So I will start with open questions. So I want to find out what they thought of the information, what questions they have for me. And I think it's really important to, you probably heard the term open question. So you don't want to ask a question where the person is just going to say yes or no as an answer, because it's really hard to keep the conversation going if you do that. So just try as much as possible to find out what they thought, anything that's going to keep the conversation going so that you can find out what that person wants as a result of what you've sent them. And you use that opportunity to allay any fears or concerns. And don't be afraid if someone comes up and says, oh, you know, I'm not sure about this bit, or am I going to have to make loads of orders, or, you know, isn't it expensive? You know, all the things that you might hear. Don't be put off by that. Sometimes it is worth having a few little things laid out of, well, if this person says that to me, what's a good answer to come back with? And I'd say with that, talk to your upline or other consultants of what would they say, because it definitely helped me when I first joined to think, oh, but if they say that, what would be a good response that still keeps it open and flowing? Because sometimes people are just testing you out for how, sometimes it's your knowledge, sometimes they just want to see that you're congruent in what you're offering them. And so that opportunity to reassure them that you're actually really serious about this business and you love what you're doing. They might just be testing you to make sure that you're not just using them as another, oh, tick, got them, you know, another one off the chart. They want that ongoing conversation. They want to be reassured that you're looking at the best option for them. And also to be fair, if they're not ready at the moment, try and find out what that barrier is, because we know, because we're all consultants, that we make this how we want it. It's our business. But sometimes the fears are, maybe they've been in another direct selling company in the past that wasn't such a well run or friendly, or they felt pressured, maybe their upline or their leaders, you know, that they'll be bringing stuff with them often, or they will have just listened to other people, and that's putting some fears into their head. So if you can reassure people that you're looking for the best option for them, and actually you don't want them to join this business if it's not right for them. So sometimes it's almost like you're taking it away from them to make sure that they've made that decision that actually this is the place they want to be. So I like to be the solution. And I think you can all do that as well through lots of questioning. And, you know, it's really important to remember that it's not about you. It's them. You want them on your team because they want to be there and they understand why they're joining, and you understand why they're joining. So let's assume that they are going to join, and they understand that they need to go through your website. So I try and do that with the person, or I send them the link and say, you need to click on this link. And I'm very clear that if you do not do that, you will probably end up somewhere else and not under me. And as Ruth said, if you're not careful, they can end up under someone else. And I say that to all my team. If I'm the nearest leader and the person they've been speaking to just Googles Neil's Yard and joins, that person will end up under me if they are local to my postcode. And that has happened. So be very clear that you're going to guide them through, and I do actually talk them through what that process looks like, because sometimes people are nervous about giving out their bank details. So I explain to them why that's going to be asked, and that they can pay with a debit or a credit card. So just so if I'm not physically there with them, because at the moment obviously that's not so easy. In the past I've sat next to someone and we've gone through it together. If I'm just texting them or on the phone talking to them, then I explain what I'm expecting them to see as they go through the form. And especially as well with the GDPR bits, they all need to tick. Sometimes if they're on a laptop and they don't scroll down, or on a phone, if they don't tick yes to everything, it doesn't go through properly. So there's all those little things that if it goes wrong and people get frustrated, they might actually give up. So I found that's been really helpful with introducing people. And of course, it also means that when they get someone wanting to join their team, which sometimes happens really quickly, they also know how to help that person through that system, and they understand that they have to send them the link to their website, not my website. And I do explain to them that I will get a notification when they've joined, and I send out the welcome email, and that we will talk about how they want to get going while they wait for their kit to come, because obviously we know that the minute you've signed up, you can recruit, you can order, you can set up parties. You don't have to wait for the kit to arrive in order to get going. So it's a really nice opportunity to make a little plan of what we're going to do in advance of that arriving. And if it gets held up, you know, recently, one of my newest recruits was one where I'd sent out the catalogue. The samples were in there. Her and her mum loved the samples. So then we got to talk to each other. She said, yes, I'm going to do it. She originally was going to be a host. So we'd already set up a party. And I just said, well, I'll still host it for you because you've never done one, but it's going to be your party. So it went on the system as her, but we'd already set it up in advance. So be flexible. If you've got a host that suddenly decides they're going to join, why not make that as their first party and give them the confidence to get going, and then they do the next ones. So yes, was there one under that, Sean? Because everyone's pictures are in front of the screen. I can't see it.
No, but you get to start the decision made, what happens now. So I love the idea of, right, let's be doing some things whilst your kit comes, because that's such a key time of enthusiasm, isn't it? The big decision has been made, and then if you don't grab that moment, it can fade, or perhaps the insecurities kick in or whatever. But yeah, it's just what happens when they've joined. So I think this is your list, Emma.
Yes, so I sort of started to expand on that, I will try and arrange with my new team member as quickly as possible, really what to look at first, what to prepare in advance before the kit arrives. So, you know, when you join, you get your UK ID number and your password. I get them to write all that down, save it, explain to them they need to go straight back in there, start exploring the new consultants area. Watch the webinar on how to do your first order. A lot of the therapists actually want me to go through the catalogue with them and recommend products, which I find hilarious because I wasn't a therapist when I joined this company. I am now, but I wasn't. So that used to make me laugh, that I'm like, but you're the therapist, surely a toner's a toner. However, just to be able to go through the catalogue and go, okay, so based on you saying you're a reflexologist, these are our foot products, this is what I know other consultants have said they like to use and they find good. And so help do a shopping list, because it's surprising how sometimes people are unsure. We've got familiar with the products, it seems obvious to us. So be aware that some new joiners will need more hand holding than others. Others will just get on and do it and they hardly speak to you. They just want to be left alone and they get on with it. But as long as people know that you're available when they need you, that's really key. And of course, I mentioned Frank List right at the beginning of this call tonight, and this is where I would say memory jogger. Go through your phone, write down all the people you ever come across, and sometimes they can be like, really? But I don't know anyone. Yeah, you do. You always know more people than you think you do. So really getting into that habit of starting a list that you can keep going back to and adding, and then yeah, don't hang on for the kit. If people just want to get going and they want to order, just get on with it. And I always try and do the first order together so I can make sure they put everything in the right place. Often people, even though you said do a party order, they do an order for stock. And obviously with Success Start, you want people to do party orders. So really talk through how that system works and get that really clear with the ordering. I send out quite a concise welcome email with all the links to all the websites that they're going to need. I let them know that they are going to hear from Lynn William Mott and Sean Dumas, and that there are groups that they can join, and that there's a lot of training, and I'd also just list the first things like their first event, their first orders, helping them with their Frank List, things to expect help with right from the beginning, that you know, I'm expecting to be involved at the beginning. If they don't want it, that's fine, but they're not just going to be left on their own the minute they join. And I think particularly with all the Facebook groups, for some people that is a bit like, whoa, there's so much information. So again, find out what they want. I very often now, unless I don't know if Lynn automatically joins people to Organic Originals anymore, but I think she used to. But I actually just join people to my group first because I'm running a team page. And then I ask them, do you want to do this training? Do you want to do that training? And then based on what they say, I then add them to the other groups. So they don't go into complete overwhelm with, but I've got this from this person, that from that person, and I don't know who to look at. So again, you gauge that by having those individual conversations and finding out what they want, because I've found it goes two ways. There's either the ones that just want to get going and I was a bit like that. I just threw myself into it and thought, well, I'll learn as I go on a need-to-know basis. Others will just feel like they've got to memorize the catalogue and do every piece of training before they can even start. And we know that the best way to start is just to get on and do it. So I think that's where, again, you're sort of trying to build that relationship, find out where that person's concerns are, what their learning style is, and try and put their mind at rest that they don't need to be an encyclopedia, and encourage people to try and get going as quickly as possible, but know that they're signposted so that they can be independent and find their own information when they need to.
So Emma, when you do the frank list with them, it's just come up at the bottom there, how do you help them find joiners and hosts?
So one of the things I really love, and actually Sian, you taught this, was that as you go down the list, you start talking about the different people on that list of what is that, why are they on that list? So are they seeing them as a potential host? What is it about that person that they think would make a great host? Are they seeing them as a potential joiner? It might be that they're a host and a joiner in this, you know, sometimes you get 2 ticks. Well, actually, I think they'd be good at both, but you don't know. Some you just think, actually, they'd just be the most amazing host. They'd be the best person to get me going because they're really sociable. They know lots of people. They love getting people together. So a great opportunity to launch. And it may be, as we know, that, you know, was it 1 in 3 hosts actually do end up joining. So it's a great way to introduce them to the business if they're not that familiar with the business anyway. There will be some that you go down and you'll hear by what the consultant's saying as you go down the list of, oh yeah, because that person, well, they're always saying they want to earn more money, or that person loves organic, or that person's a therapist. So you start to hear, sometimes I go, well, they're a therapist. You know, we've got loads of therapists on our team. Do you think they need to know, you know, or I would say, I think they need to know that this is available to them as well. Because often people don't realise that they can be a consultant. So we'll talk through all the people on the list, and actually while you do that, it sort of jogs the memory of other people. So, oh yeah, and they've got a friend who, so then you can end up going down the referrals route, which Ruth mentioned earlier, that she gets referrals. So it's like this amazing wealth of people on that list will lead you to other people, but it's just working through that together and starting to understand the process. But start with the easy ones. If you've never done it before and you're a bit scared of talking to people, I mean, I know other people say no, start with the ones that you know are going to say no, because then you've got it out of the way. And then when someone says yes, you'll be so ecstatic because you were convinced they were going to say no. But actually, I just started with the obvious ones, so friends and family. And then it just naturally evolved from there, because everybody I met, I said, you can do this too.
Yeah, and the bookmark that Ruth referred to is helpful, isn't it, for using with that frank list, because you've got a list of reasons why people join, and you can just mark up some of the people who were on your list with those reasons. And it's like, oh my goodness, that person's got 3 or 4 reasons from the bookmark that would be good for them to join, or that one's got 2 and that one's got 6. You know, so like Emma says, you then got, right, am I going for the easy ones, or am I going for the difficult ones that are more likely to say no first? But it also taps into what Emma was saying about not fixating on one person, because if you're taking that list and looking for the potential joiners, the likelihood is you're going to have a few, if not several, rather than just homing in on one individual person. And that's where those recruitment vouchers and Success Start come in. Some of you are already up and running, doing that now, those of you who've recently joined. But also it just stops everybody from fixating on one individual. Thanks, Emma. Amazing list. Right, Ruth, let's have your take on the decisions made. What happens now?
Yep. Well, when the person's ready to join, I will usually on a phone call, or definitely by sending my link and telling them this is the link that you click, and when you go through there and see my name, you can scroll down to register, and it's a simple process. And I'll get confirmation whenever you've completed it, and I'll be in touch and let them know that I'm looking forward to working with them and helping them to get what they've said they're wanting from this opportunity. At this point, I do mention Success Start, just in case somebody's thinking of registering before they go off for 3 weeks on holiday. That's not quite relevant so much now, but just in terms of a timing issue. But yeah, then just go and let them register. Once they have registered, I have kind of pared back the information that I give initially, for the reasons that Emma has talked about, the overwhelm and people being confused about who's who and what's what and where to go. So what I have done with the recent new recruits is, in terms of the basic knowledge, I've given them the Skin Tools document out of downloads, because personally I think that's a fabulous document for all the products that we have, and for calming their fears when people ask them, what should I do? I have this kind of skin, or I have that kind of skin, what would you recommend? And that's a big fear for new joiners, not being able to know the products enough. The one-to-one skin consultation document I think is great for them to figure out what they need for themselves, but also to help them ask the right questions from people who want to buy product. The facials webinar, I think, gives them the confidence to go and practice and demonstrate the products. And also it includes some additional products that aren't in their starter kit. So I will talk about how they can get those products through their Success Start program, and the brand webinar, so that they know a bit about the company. So that's from a knowledge perspective. From a skills perspective, I focus on their first order and what the order process looks like. I don't actually encourage them to go ahead and shop, but I do encourage them to do a test order and explain how they can hold and cancel an order, so that they get familiar with the ordering process and the different sections in it. And just in terms of, at that point about ordering, I usually have a conversation with them about the difference between shopping and selling, and the difference between getting discount and earning commission. And if there are products that they want, I will use that as an opportunity to say, well, did you know you could get that free? When you collect orders to the value of £150, you've actually got £25 that you can use to buy product, or to get product free for yourself. So it's getting that mindset and motivation to get out there and collect orders from people and share product. I connect them with other consultants in our own new joiners group, and include them in my own team communications, but I don't routinely add them to the wider NYRO team pages unless they start to demonstrate that they want to be active, and are looking for something more than they're getting. At that point, then they will either have found those other groups naturally, or I will introduce them to them.
Amazing, thank you so much. Okay, so let's stop the share. Oh, got some brain-strained faces that I'm looking at now. Some of you look like you just received a whole ton of information. If anybody has any burning questions, please put them into the chat now. We're just going to do a quick, just a few questions, if you've got any, whilst we've got time. And then what we will absolutely be doing is picking up some of this knowledge. So if you've got photographs of your own information packs, those of you who have been doing those already, please send them to me on Messenger or shandumar@gmail.com, because it would be really great to share, and we'll be picking up on some of the key tips. But just whilst you're typing your questions in, Ruth and Emma, thank you so much for sharing your skills and ideas and solutions in the process of recruiting. It's been invaluable, and I'm sure everybody will be listening back through the recording. What did you say about that again? It's just, yeah, you got a round of applause from Tanya there. That's nice to use that function, Tanya. Just so much information and so much detail, which is really good. Okay. So Joe has got a question. You said you approach people on social media that you think are a good fit. I think, Ruth, that was in your section. How and what do you start with, please? What do you mean by a good fit, Ruth?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. Well, the girl that I didn't approach, she has a work from home craft business. I loved the way she talked about her business and her family on social media. I loved her images, her lifestyle. She would share recipes and things that she did with the kids, and it was all, you know, very natural. And I just thought, you know, this is such a natural lifestyle. Nails Yard just seems to be a fit for her. What I ought to have done is, when I was her customer, I ought to have, and she posted me something and her address was on it, I should have put a brochure and some samples in the post to the address, the sender address. She lives less than a mile from me. That's the galling thing. That's what I should have done. This is a learning curve for me. Listen, don't think that I've cracked this all. I'm currently in conversation with a girl on Facebook, on Instagram, who I think actually this might be a great opportunity for. I haven't yet said anything to her about it, and I'm sitting thinking, when do I actually have this conversation and how will I do it? So I think I just need to drop her a message that said, I don't know what you know about Nails Yard Remedies, the business that I'm in. I think there's an opportunity in it for you. Would you be interested in a conversation?
Great, thank you. I'm just going to pick up on Natalie's question. When you've been chatting to someone, how long would you leave it before following up again? I shared the mini kit with the potential the day it was released and then followed up a week later. I don't want to look like I'm pestering or being too needy. Emma, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think it's different with different people, if I'm really honest. So I will have my MailChimp mail out for my customers, and I send out maybe once a month. Or if there's, like at the moment, I've done an August one with the new joining offer, and I look at who's opened it. So if they've opened it and looked at it, I will then find a way to get in touch and say, did you see the email I sent out? Obviously, I know they've seen it, but they don't know I know. So I try and strike up a conversation. On Facebook, again, it depends on the original conversation. So if someone has, because a lot of people have been messaging me, so I will try and find out what it is they're particularly interested in. I'll give them the answers, and then I might, like you said, you left it a week, and then I'll go back and say, oh, did you have a chance to look at it? Was there anything else you'd need to ask? Have you got any other questions? And then people generally are forthcoming. And then you can gauge from that, okay, is it okay to stay in touch? Or, you know, do you want me to contact you again, or do you prefer to come back to me? So then I don't feel like a pest, because if they've said, no, it's fine, let me know, you know, whatever the response, they've given me permission to go to them first. If they say, oh no, it's fine, I see you on Facebook, I know where you are, I'll come and find you when I'm ready, sort of thing. So I try and personalize it. I'm always trying to make that personal connection and adapt to what that person wants. And I guess maybe that takes practice. I used to feel like a pest, but if you've ever done any Facebook training, you get told all the time that if you're just posting on your page, only about 1% of your followers are seeing it. So don't feel that you're over posting. That's very different to obviously going constantly on Messenger and messaging the same people over and over again, because they will get fed up. I've got a group of a customer messenger group, and I don't actually message them that often, but if there's something I particularly want them to see, I just plonk it in and go, oh, I hope you saw this, and I put the link and it links back to the page. You know, ask me if you need anything, ask me directly, so it doesn't make a whole long string of conversation that everyone gets fed up because the phones keep pinging. Because what I realised is I turn notifications off, but a lot of people have it on and their phones are just binging all day, and it drives them nuts.
I think also this was an area for me in my recruiting process that I look back now, I spent hours agonising over whether it was too soon or too late, or whether or not I should be in contact with that individual again, dancing around the what ifs and maybes of that conversation and not wanting to be pushy. And the thing that completely changed that for me was setting up when we were next going to speak at the point where you're still speaking to them. So if you've given them a pack, say to them, how long do you want to have a read of that before we chat again? Or if you haven't and they've gone away to read your joining page on your replicated website, how long do you want to have a look around the information that I've pointed you in the direction of before we speak again? Because you can't possibly guess the answer to that question. Some people will say, oh, let's chat tomorrow. Some people will say, give me a week. So all the mental gymnastics of trying to guess when is going to be a good time doesn't work. So just ask. And if you can set that up when you're last speaking to them, and then put it in your diary so that you are absolutely remembering to do that, it just takes all the pressure out of it, because you just say, great, you know, I just want it to be at the right time, I'll give you a call then. Whether then is 2 days, tomorrow or next week, doesn't matter, it's the right time for them.
And just from a business perspective for me, I realize I'm investing and giving these tools into this situation. It's okay for me to ask for feedback. So it's not something to feel pushy about. You know, anybody who gives you freebies is entitled to follow up with you, I think.
And I think also, if you've got people who are interested, it's not pushy to be clear. So actually to say, I'm really delighted you're interested, and I would love to give you just a pack of information to read through so that you can make an informed decision. So you're actually taking some control back to say, I'm willing to invest, like Ruth's just said, I'm happy to meet the interest that you've got with information. And at that point you can say, how long would you like to have a read of that before we chat next? It's the opposite of pressure, and it takes all the guessing out of it. But you're right, Ruth, it kind of commands a respect from the beginning. It's saying, actually, this is a dialogue in two directions. I think the danger is that we feel responsible for making this happen for people, and we're not. Unless this is a dialogue at the beginning, to be honest, when they've joined, it's not going to be a dialogue afterwards. So let's just set up the tone of the dynamic in the way that we want to carry on.
I like Frederica's comment, a sample with no name is a sample down the drain. Follow-up is essential. If you sent things out to people, you need to set it up that you're expecting them to either come back to you and tell them what they thought of it, or permission for you to follow up and find out what they thought of it. And I would say that's the same whether you're sending samples for sales or hosts for parties or potential joiners, because you're running a business, it's your time. So you don't want to waste your time, you don't want to waste their time. And actually, I would say in 8 years of doing this business, I've only probably had one person ever who wasn't particularly pleasant. But actually, most people we meet are lovely. You know, we are a business of lovely consultants, but somehow I think we get in our head that I don't want to be like a double glazing salesman, but we're not. You know, we're just trying to offer something and be a good service. And if you're trying to give a good service and you're explaining why you want to stay in touch with that person, they just say yes or no. If they don't want you to be in touch with them, they can just say, actually, it's not a good time at the moment. Can we leave it for a few months? Or, do you know what, actually, I'm not interested. I've changed my mind. Fine, you respect that. But often people are distracted because they've got children or they've been away. Like you say, probably not been away at the moment. But even with lockdown, I've had people coming back saying, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you. I've been really distracted the last couple of weeks. I honestly thought they weren't interested. But I've learned that, again, it's not about me. Everyone's got things going on in their life. When they're ready, they will come back, but you've got to be available. So every now and again, that little reminder, I am still here, I am still doing Neil's Yard, because believe it or not, I've got friends who bet I don't see them that often will still say, oh, you're still doing Neil's Yard? And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I
How did you not know?
Yeah. I'm top to toe. I guess it
Totally.
sinks in and you can't actually see it. But so yeah, again, it's just being good customer service, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Right, at the point where we're looking at the sole of Liz Ratcliffe's foot and Cindy's yawning, it's time to wrap it up, isn't it, guys? And I have a holiday game of Monopoly to get back to, and we've talked about recruiting for an hour and 23 minutes. Doesn't time fly when we're having fun? I'm going to finish by saying thank you to Ruth and Emma, and to say that the very, very best way to be really, really good at recruiting is to practice. And if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing badly at first. So let's get out there, start speaking to people, sorting out our packs, being a bit Ruth, being a bit Emma, taking the best out of the bits that you've just heard, and just stay in touch with your upline leader. Please, will you just communicate, like we said with matched effort with new joiners, matched effort as recruiters. Tell your upline leader that you where you're at with this and what you're intending to do with it, what your own personal goal is. I'm looking at somebody who I know wants to be a team leader by the time she's finished a Success Start. You know, whatever your thing is, make sure it's communicated so that you can have some support along the way. All right? Signing out from sunny Dorset. Have a lovely rest of the week, guys. And thank you, Ruth and Emma. You're amazing. Thank you for sharing your expertise.
Have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a rest.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.